Well, Google just shook up the internet yet again. And what we saw this time was actually more movement in the search rankings than even the update that we had earlier this year. But in this video, we want to talk to you about exactly how to build your site and create the type of content that not only comes out unscathed from these shakeups and algorithm updates, but actually benefits from them.
Okay, so first off, before we go any further, we want to show you things that we've actually seen. Yeah. So check out these screenshots here. These are analytics of our actual websites. And as you can see, none of our sites actually took any hit at all.
Yeah.
And we have seen very similar things across other Project 24 websites. But we do have Project 24 members, especially who have been affected by this update.
So rule number one with algorithm updates is don't take any action for at least a couple weeks. Let it settle. Numerous Project 24 members were posting about, oh, I lost 10 or 20% of my traffic in the first 3 days. And people said, just leave it.
Yeah.
And for many of those people, they said, oh, it came back.
Yeah.
And so that's rule number one.
Don't do anything yet.
It's been a couple weeks since this algorithm update. Maybe we can start drawing conclusions. We still don't even know what changed.
Right.
It could take many more weeks before we really have an understanding of what changes Google is making. But we do have some theories based upon what we've seen so far, and that's what we're going to talk about next.
Okay, the first one is websites or blogs that are incredibly product focused. It seemed like kind of across the board from the sites we looked at, that sites that kind of fell into that category got hit pretty hard.
And that's been true for several algorithm updates.
Yes.
Some of the ones I've talked about, or that I know of people whose sites were just destroyed. They had a ton of affiliate links, a ton of articles that were very product heavy.
Yes.
The issue is taking the direct approach too frequently on your site. So, let's give an example. Say we have a site about pressure washers, and most of our articles, or a substantial number of them, are reviews of different kinds of pressure washers, and they're all directly trying to sell products. Those are good. I think product comparisons are good.
They can be.
They can be.
Yes.
But if your site is very heavy on the direct, I'm pushing a product to you approach, and if there's not a high level of expertise or at least physical interaction with the products that you're talking about, it's going to suffer, especially now as Google's getting pretty picky about product content. If your content does not add anything of substance above and beyond what I can find on the Amazon listing, including the reviews, Google has no reason to send you there over just sending people directly to Amazon.
There's no value add, and I think that's what it really comes down to. So the better approach, briefly, is information-based. If you have an information-based post that at some point in the post you can recommend a tool or a product that is incredibly helpful, something that you actually use, or something you've talked to someone who has expertise about the product or topic, that's going to be a much better approach, because then you are adding value rather than just kind of copying and throwing everything else up that everyone else already has.
So that's number one.
Yes.
People that are too product focused, they're losing out to the retailers that just sell the products and have their own reviews listed there.
Number two are tangential related search terms. So this is another one of our theories or ideas that we've had. And an example of this is, say you write an article on a specific search query. Well, there's a good chance that as that article ranks, you're going to start ranking for related topics. Ricky gave a great example of how, if the article was how to winterize a pressure washer. Well,
pressure washers on
yes,
the
yes. You might end up ranking for the search term how to change the oil in a pressure washer, because that could be part of your post. Well, as Google gets better at doing what they do, which is sending users to the information that they need, there's a good chance that you might lose out on that, since it wasn't the direct focus of your blog post. Someone else may have ended up covering it better than you did, therefore you lost some amount of traffic.
Now, this isn't to say that you won't win tangential search terms. In fact, Google is getting better at indexing our content. They're not just indexing a whole article. Like, to win how to change the oil in a pressure washer, I don't have to write an article called how to change the oil in a pressure washer. I can include it in a larger maintenance article. However, we do want to make it easy for Google to identify that, but Google's getting better at identifying it even if you don't do that. And so if somebody else did a better job of explaining it, they're going to win that tangential search over you, because Google is getting better at finding them, and Google is getting better at understanding what the searcher meant when they searched what they searched.
The third thing that we want to mention really quick, and it kind of ties into the first, we mentioned that a lot of sites that we saw got hit were very product focused. Well, this last one is unique seasonality. And I think that this unique seasonality was confused for the update, but I don't think that they were exactly related. Ricky can explain kind of what I mean.
This is, we saw this, I saw this a ton. Okay, so right now in the United States is a time when most bloggers are like, I want my content to do really well. It's the peak of advertising season because we have Christmas coming up. People are buying products like crazy. So advertisers are spending money like crazy. You know, affiliate stuff has always worked really well in the past, right? You have affiliate links for Christmas product or present ideas, etc. This last week, people took a little bit of a different approach in their search. The actual searchers took a different approach. That's because this last week was Black Friday. And there are sales like crazy. Why did Amazon and other major retailers get so much traffic for the last week? It's because the searcher intent shifted away from which product should I buy based upon its quality, its value, etc., to which products are on sale.
Right.
Their decision of what to buy is solely based on how big the discount is.
Okay, so these are the three things that we are pretty sure, or our theories of what have happened. We're going to switch gears a little bit because for those of you who got hit, there are some things that you can do to hopefully regain some of your traffic. For those of you who haven't been hit, here are some things to future-proof your website. All right, the first thing that we want to talk about is the value of information type content versus the value of like product-focused content.
So many bloggers, like most of them, focus way too heavily on product-focused content. And as we talked about, that type of content is getting hurt by Google.
Right.
So what do? Well, most bloggers have a combination, some mix of informational content and product-focused content. So a great place to start right now would be to go to your information-focused content that's probably not getting hurt by algorithm updates and monetize that. How do we do that? Well, great example, I think I've even talked about it on this channel before. With my dad, he read a blog post all about how to set up these solar panels and hook them up to the battery system for a house. But the article also contained a complete tools list, all the tools you need, and a complete list of all the materials you would need.
Right.
Everything he didn't already have on hand, he clicked the links.
Yes.
He knew he was supporting the guy, but also it was super convenient.
Okay, and so how much more helpful is that than writing the blog post, 10 tools you need to add solar panels to your RV?
Right, or even worse, like the best, I don't know what's a specific tool for solar. There are a couple, by the way, but like the best whatever wrench for solar panel installation of 2022. It's like, really?
Yeah.
How much difference is there between these?
So when you look at the value add between those three articles, or potential articles that we just mentioned, really the guide where it's going to show you step by step how you're going to implement the process, but then also provide you your shopping list, that's way more valuable. And so whether you have the information style articles that you need to start monetizing now, but if you also have product focused articles right now, then you can go and add information or how-to guides to those articles to give that value add.
So monetize your informational content and informationize your product-focused content. The reason we're going to do this is to steer that content in such a way that it drives more organic traffic on its own. We're actually going to answer user questions more. So how would we do this? Well, you know, it's a little bit hard to do when it's like review of XYZ product. But maybe I am going to totally change that headline. Maybe a lot of the content of the post is good, but I am going to find out what questions are people asking about this particular product.
Yes.
You can find that in forums. We'll show you in a few minutes how Google can help you find that information. And we're going to answer those questions that maybe aren't answered on Amazon. You know, and then it's even easier when you move down to like the product comparison type articles. Man, suddenly there's a whole bunch of information you could provide that people want to know about that you probably aren't including because you focus so much on making a product sale.
Okay, the second thing we want to mention here is the importance of expertise, specifically how it's going to add to the originality of your content and just its overall value.
Yeah, and so the confusion here though is that people think, well, how am I supposed to interview an expert?
Or I'm not an expert myself.
Exactly. Right. I'm not an expert. I need to interview an expert. Who's going to want to sit down for an interview with me? I'm a brand new blogger. You don't need that. Really, like experience, some experience is a lot better than none. I'll give you an example. When we did our 52-24 project, which was 52 videos in 24 hours, which was insane, and I don't recommend starting a YouTube channel that way. I was learning about pellet grills. One of the things that I talked about was every time you use your pellet grill, you should clean out all of the ash, and you should empty the auger of all of its pellets, because if it gets water in there, the pellets expand, and suddenly your auger's jammed, and it's an hour or two project to empty that out. Well, I've been using my pellet grill regularly for a year and a half, and I gotta tell you, that just doesn't make sense. As soon as you're done using that pellet grill, guess what? It's hot. It's about 250, 225 degrees, depending on
And
what
you're ready to
start
eat
at.
dinner at that point. I'm not going to clean out the
taking
grill at
your
that
dinner.
point.
And so then what happens? Well, it sits. And you don't think about it 4 hours later. And then the next time you go to use it, oh, it worked just fine. I guess I don't need to clean it out every time. But there is a certain amount that you need. And so if I were to go into a video today, the exact recommendation I would give would be different.
Yeah.
I might say this is best practice. However, it's not always feasible. Here's what I recommend and the frequency I recommend doing
Yeah,
it.
so that's expertise gained over time, not necessarily that you went to, grilling school or you talked to a master chef. It's just that over time you learned
Use
a few
the product.
things. Yes.
Put it into your routine.
Yes. Yep. And so that makes such a big difference. So if you're in a niche where you're not the expert, there are always people around you who may have more expertise than you do, even though they may not be a certified expert.
You don't have to go to a veterinarian to ask questions about pet cats.
Right.
You could go to the pet store that sells a lot and that has and sells a lot of pet cats.
Yep.
You could talk to someone at the Humane Society. You could, there's so many people that you could literally just pick up the phone, call them and ask a couple questions that are common questions they get 30 times a day, and you would get more expertise and experience through that level of information than if you were to just read a bunch of blog posts and hope that they knew what they were talking about.
Yep. This originality and just overall, it's just going to increase the quality of your content because you're going to actually have something to add to the internet rather than just going and scanning through 40 or 50 other blog posts and then giving your summary. You're going to actually provide unique value, whether it's data, whether it's just something you learned from another expert or someone with expertise. You're going to be adding something new of value.
In Google's recommendations for how to recover from an algorithm update, that's one of the things they talk about. They ask you a series of questions. I'll give you a link to that document. It's valuable to read through.
Yep.
There's a handful of questions there, and some of the questions are, is your content original? Do you add unique value? You don't necessarily have to do a whole bunch of statistical analysis and stuff, but did you add your own assessment? Did you add your own analysis? Or did you just say the same thing as everybody else in new words? Before we go on to the next one, I gotta invite you to like this video. I have it on good authority that if you choose not to like the video, the next algorithm update is coming for you. So like the video, it's the safe thing to do.
Okay, the third thing here is understanding users' search intent. This one is huge because you could write an article that's super helpful and super informational, but if it's not what the user needs or what they're actually looking for, people are just not going to click.
Yep. And so here's what happens. Sometimes nobody's written the article that the user wants, and so you rank really well anyway, but it still didn't really benefit the user. It's not what they were looking for. Other times, you write an article that is really, really good. You put a lot of work into it, but somebody else has written an article that really suits the user better, and you're like, well, my article's better. Look at how much longer it is. Look at all the statistics I put into it. And but you missed the mark. We need to try to understand what the user's after.
Okay, so we have an example here that I'd like to share. So this could be toward product-based articles or information-based articles. So the example we have here is a user who's searching how much does a generator cost. They are probably looking because they're hoping to buy a generator in the near future.
Right.
Now, what about a user who's searching how much does a yacht cost? Do we think that there are a lot of people on the internet searching how much does a yacht cost because they're going to go buy a yacht? Probably not. I think the intent is different.
And that one seems really obvious, right? It's like, well, if I'm looking about generators, like how many people are just like that into generators?
Right.
Whereas like when it comes to luxury stuff, there's just a lot of curiosity and interest. That feels obvious, but there's a good way to try to dive in and get a better idea of what the user might be thinking of?
Yes, so I Googled, just pulled up Google search here, how much does a generator cost? I go to the people also ask section, and I come up with things like, how do I calculate how much generator I need? How do I choose a generator for my home? What should I look for when I'm buying a generator? Yeah. These are all questions people are asking who are going to purchase a generator.
So then I actually went and Googled how much does a yacht cost? And I go to the people also ask, and only 2 questions showed up at first. What is the average cost of a yacht? And how much does a 100-foot yacht cost? Well, those don't give me a lot of indication. Maybe people are shopping for yachts, and some are, I'm sure.
A few at least.
A handful of them, they get sold. But if you open one of the questions and then you can immediately close it back up, Google gives you a couple more. Now, if you go too far, like the more times you do that, the farther the questions are going to stray. But then I get, why are yachts so expensive? How much is it to rent a yacht? Oh, okay, maybe that's something we could add in here. The very next one, does Jeff Bezos have a yacht? Who has the most expensive yacht in the world? Well, those make pretty clear that a lot of the people searching this kind of stuff are interested in celebrities and their yachts.
Yes.
The next one, how much does it cost to throw a yacht party? So now I've got 3 things here. I got 3 different angles. Getting behind the search intent is going to lead you to better content that actually people want.
Yep. So whether those examples there, whether those are 3 separate articles or just subheadings in one longer article, it gives you a better idea of what the searcher is looking for. And I think that once you can nail searcher intent, I think that's a huge thing. A lot of people, when they're even planning articles to write on their website, the reason your search analysis doesn't work is just because your search intent was wrong.
Search analysis is a huge part of what we do.
It's huge.
In fact, I find it to be probably the #1 biggest determinant of which sites succeed and which sites fail. And it's all about picking the right topics and understanding search intent well enough to be able to write the content that they need. Search analysis is also a really huge topic. We have like a bunch of lessons in Project 24 about it because it's so big and it takes so much to understand. So go check that out. If you're not in Project 24, I don't know what you're waiting for.
I just sat down with a member in a mastermind this morning and went over their search analysis. It was awesome.
In a mastermind?
Yeah.
You did that for free because they're already a member.
Yep.
You can have that too. Either way, we'll see you guys next time. But if you actually like open up one of those questions, then immediately close it, guess what Google does? Oh, they'll turn off the lights.
Oh, yeah.
Let's try it. Oh.